Admiral Kang Ho stood in the command center, his eyes fixed on the massive screen that showed Earth from space. The blue planet looked peaceful from here, but he knew that was about to change forever. The red warning lights had been flashing. For 3 hours now, ever since the alien ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. President Nari walked into the room, her face calm, but her hands shaking slightly. General Wu Jin followed behind her, his uniform perfect as always. They had all been waiting for this moment, though none of them had wanted it to come so soon. "Show me," Nari said quietly. The screen changed to show the alien fleet. 300 ships hung in space beyond Pluto, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. They looked like dark metal mountains floating in the void, covered with weapons that could destroy entire cities with a single shot. "They sent a message an hour ago," Kang Ho said. "We've been trying to decode it." Dr. Hae Jin looked up from her computer. She was the best alien language expert on Earth, and she had been working non-stop since the ships arrived. "I think I have it," she said, her voice tired. "It's not good news." The main screen flickered, and suddenly an alien face appeared. It had purple skin and 4 eyes, with a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, the computer translated its words into human language. "I am High Arbiter Velthar of the Galactic Hegemony," the alien said. Its voice was cold and full of pride. "Your species has expanded too far, too fast. You have taken planets that belong to the Empire. This cannot be allowed." Nari felt her heart sink. She had known this day might come. Humans had been exploring space for 50 years now, building colonies on distant worlds. They had always been careful, always peaceful, but it seemed that wasn't enough. "You have 7 of your days to surrender," the alien continued. "Remove all weapons from your ships. Stop all military operations. Accept our rule. If you do this, your people will be allowed to live as servants of the Empire. If you refuse, your planet will be destroyed." The message ended, leaving the command center in complete silence. Captain Dae Young was 3 light years away when he heard the news. His ship, the Sejong, was on a routine patrol near the colony world of New Busan. He had been watching the stars through the bridge window when his communication officer called out, "Captain, we're getting an emergency message from Earth." Dae Young hurried to his chair. "Put it through." The message was short and terrible. Alien ships had arrived at Earth. They wanted humanity to surrender in 7 days. All human ships were ordered to return home immediately. "Sir," his weapons officer said, "we have 3 alien ships approaching our position." Dae Young looked at the tactical display. 3 small ships were coming toward them, but they weren't attacking. They seemed to be watching, studying the human vessel. "They've been following us for weeks," his science officer reported. "I didn't think much of it before, but now we know they were spying on us," Dae Young finished. He felt angry and helpless at the same time. The aliens had been planning this attack for a long time, learning about human ships and weapons while pretending to be peaceful explorers. Back on Earth, President Nari called an emergency meeting of the Global Assembly. Leaders from every nation on Earth gathered in the Great Hall in Geneva. Some joined by video from other continents, but all of them had the same worried look on their faces. "We all know why we're here," Nari said as she stood at the podium. "The alien empire has given us 7 days to surrender. They want us to give up our freedom, our weapons, and our right to explore space." The hall erupted in angry voices. Some leaders wanted to fight, others wanted to negotiate. A few suggested that humanity should surrender to save lives. "We can't fight them," said the leader from New Australia. "Look at their ships. They're huge. We'd be destroyed in minutes. And if we surrender, we'll be slaves forever," replied the representative from the Mars colonies. "At least if we fight, we'll die as free humans." General Wu Jin stepped forward. He was an old soldier who had fought in Earth's last war 20 years ago. "May I speak?" The hall fell quiet. "I've been a soldier for 40 years, Wu Jin said. "I've seen what happens when bullies think they can take whatever they want. Sometimes the only way to stop them is to show them you're willing to fight, even when the odds are bad." Nari nodded. She had already made up her mind, but she wanted to hear what others thought. "What about our colonies?" asked another leader. "We have millions of people living on other worlds. If we fight and lose, the aliens might kill them all." And, "If we surrender, they'll make slaves of them all," Nari replied. "Either way, our people suffer. But only one choice gives us hope for the future." Dr. Hyojin had been studying the alien message for hours, trying to learn more about their technology. What she found made her excited and scared at the same time. "Admiral," she called to Kang Ho, "I need to show you something." She brought up an analysis of the alien ships on her screen. "Look at this. Their technology is very advanced, but it follows the same basic principles as ours. They use energy shields, plasma weapons, and fusion reactors. Everything we expected from an advanced spacefaring species." "That's bad news for us," Kang Ho said. "Maybe not," Hyojin replied with a small smile. "It means they think like we do. They build bigger ships with bigger guns and think that's enough to win. But what if we don't play by those rules?" She pulled up another file on her computer. 20 years ago, we started a project called Shadowfall. It was so secret that even most of the military doesn't know about it. The aliens have been watching us for years, but they've only seen our regular ships and weapons. They don't know about the Black Fleet. Kang Ho felt his heart start to beat faster. He knew about Shadowfall, of course. He was one of the few people on Earth who did. But he had hoped they would never need to use it. "Are you sure they don't know?" he asked. "I'm sure," Hyojin said. "Their scanning technology is good, but it can't detect ships that exist partially outside normal space. As far as they know, humanity has maybe 1,000 small warships. They have no idea we have something much more dangerous waiting in the dark." The hours passed quickly. Around the world, humans watched the news and waited to hear what their leaders would decide. Some people panicked and tried to hide. Others prepared to fight with whatever weapons they could find. Most just waited and hoped that somehow, someone would find a way to save them. In the outer colonies, human ships began the long journey back to Earth. They knew they probably wouldn't arrive in time to help, but they had to try. Captain Dae-Young pushed his ship's engines to their limit, racing through space while the alien ships followed at a distance. On the moon, Admiral Sung-min received a coded message that made him smile for the first time in days. The message was short. "Shadowfall authorized. Prepare for activation." He looked out through the observation window at the dark space beyond. Somewhere out there, hidden in the cold between the planets, the Black Fleet was waking up. Ships that had been sleeping for years were starting their engines and checking their weapons. Crews who had trained their whole lives for this moment were taking their positions. The aliens thought they knew everything about human military power. They were about to learn how wrong they were. President Nari stood before the cameras as the whole world watched. Her hands were steady now, and her voice was strong. "People of Earth," she said, "today we received a demand from an alien empire that wants us to surrender our freedom. They believe that because their ships are bigger and their weapons are more powerful, we will bow down to them." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "They are wrong. Humanity has never bowed to bullies, no matter how strong they seemed. We have faced extinction before and survived. We have been threatened by those who thought we were weak, and we proved them wrong." Her voice grew stronger. "I speak now not just to Earth, but to the alien empire listening to this message. You have demanded our surrender. You have threatened our people. You have made the greatest mistake in the history of your empire." She stood straighter, her eyes blazing with determination. Earth does not kneel. Earth does not surrender. And Earth is not defenseless. You wanted an answer to your ultimatum. Here it is. Come and take our freedom if you can. But know that humanity will make you pay for every inch of space, every world you attack, and every life you threaten. The transmission ended. Around the world, humans cheered and prepared for war. In the darkness between the planets, the black fleet began to move. And somewhere beyond Pluto, an alien admiral realized that he might have just made the worst mistake of his very long life. The countdown to war had begun. 20 years earlier, the first alien raiders had attacked a human mining station near Jupiter. Only 3 ships had survived to tell the story, but their message had been clear. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and not everything out there was friendly. That attack had changed everything. While diplomats tried to make contact with peaceful aliens, the military began preparing for the worst. Deep in the Kuiper Belt, far from Earth's busy shipping lanes, they built something that would hopefully never be needed. Admiral Sung-min remembered those early days as he walked through the command center hidden inside an asteroid. The facility was called Shadowfall Station, though most of the people who worked here had never heard that name. To them, it was just Deep Space Research Facility 7, a place where scientists studied strange physics and engineers built experimental ships. "Sir," his aide called out, "we've received the activation codes from Earth." Sung-min nodded. He had been hoping this day would never come, but he had spent 20 years preparing for it anyway. "Begin wake-up procedures for all units. Send the signal to every ship in the fleet. Across the solar system, in hidden bases built inside asteroids, and empty spaces between planets, thousands of people received the same message. The Black Fleet was going active. Colonel Jin Woo felt his ship come alive around him as the reactors started up. The Guangaeto had been sleeping in the cold for 10 years, waiting for this moment. Now her engines hummed with power, and her weapon systems ran through their final checks. "All systems green," his engineering officer reported. "Dimensional. Drive is ready for activation." Jin Woo looked around his bridge. His crew had trained for years, but none of them had ever seen real combat. They were about to face an enemy that had conquered half the galaxy, using technology that most humans didn't even know existed. "Take us to Phase 1, he ordered. The ship around him seemed to fade slightly, like it was becoming less real. Through the windows, the stars looked different, as if he was seeing them through water. The Guangaeto was now partially existing in fold space, a dimension that ran alongside normal reality but followed different rules. In fold space, the ship was invisible to normal sensors. It could move faster than light without using the usual hyperspace routes. Most importantly, it could appear anywhere in normal space without warning. Commander So Young was testing her ship's systems when the activation order came. The Hwarang was smaller than Jin Woo's vessel, built for speed and stealth rather than heavy combat. Her job was to scout ahead and mark targets for the bigger ships. "Take us into deep fold," she told her pilot. The universe outside disappeared completely. In deep fold space, normal matter couldn't exist. Only specially built ships with dimensional shields could survive here. It was like traveling through a dream, where distance and time meant different things. So Young had spent 5 years learning to navigate in this strange realm. It wasn't like normal space, where you could plot a course and follow it. Here you had to feel your way through dimensions that humans had no names for, following instincts that came from years of practice. "Contact ahead," her sensor officer called out. "It's one of ours." Another ship appeared in the fold space around them. Then another. Soon dozens of Black Fleet vessels were gathering in the space between dimensions, like ghosts preparing for battle. Captain Minho commanded the largest ship in the Black Fleet. The Chungmu Gong was a monster, built around a single weapon that could destroy entire space stations. But unlike the alien dreadnoughts, she was fast and hard to detect, able to strike from impossible angles. "Sir," his weapons officer said, "the Singularity torpedoes are ready. Minho nodded grimly. Each torpedo contained a tiny black hole, held in place by magnetic fields and exotic matter. When it hit a target, the black hole would expand for exactly 3 seconds before collapsing. In those 3 seconds, it would devour everything within a kilometer. The weapons were so dangerous that Minho's ship could only carry 12 of them. But 12 singularity torpedoes could destroy an entire fleet if used correctly. "How many ships do we have active?" he asked. 237 are reporting ready, his communication officer replied. "The rest should be online within 6 hours. Minho did quick math in his head. The aliens had 300 ships, but they were all in normal space, following predictable physics. The Black Fleet could attack from fold space, hit multiple targets at once, and disappear before the enemy could respond. It should work. It had to work. Dr. Taejuan watched the preparations from his laboratory deep inside Shadowfall Station. He was the man who had discovered fold space travel 15 years ago, working from theories that most scientists said were impossible. Breakthrough had come when he realized that space-time wasn't solid like most people thought. It was more like a fabric with folds and creases. If you knew how to look, you could find places where the fabric was thin, where you could step from one fold to another. The military had immediately classified his work and given him unlimited funding to develop it further. What had started as a way to travel faster than light had become the foundation for a completely new type of warfare. "Doctor," his assistant called out, "the test results from the Hwarang are coming in." Taejuan looked at the data on his screen. The ship had successfully made 3 jumps from fold space into normal reality, each time appearing exactly where the crew had planned. The dimensional drives were working perfectly. "Excellent," he said. "Send word to Admiral Sung Min. The fleet is ready for combat operations." As he worked, Taejuan thought about the aliens waiting beyond Pluto. They were using technology that was thousands of years old, based on principles that every spacefaring species in the galaxy understood. Bigger ships, more powerful weapons, stronger shields. But humans had learned to cheat. Commander Eun-soo was preparing Earth's conventional defenses when she received word about the Black Fleet activation. Her space station, Dokdo, was one of 12 platforms defending Earth's orbit. Each one had enough firepower to destroy a small moon, but she knew it wouldn't be enough against the alien fleet. "Ma'am," her tactical officer said, "we're getting strange readings from the outer system." "What kind of readings?" "Ships appearing and disappearing. But when we try to scan them, there's nothing there." Eun-soo smiled. "Don't worry about those. Focus on our own preparations. Make sure all weapons are ready and our shields are at full power." She didn't tell her crew about the Black Fleet. They didn't have the security clearance to know. And besides, it was better if they fought as if the conventional defenses were Earth's only hope. If the enemy was watching, they needed to see human desperation, not confidence. Captain Young-sik had been waiting his entire career for this moment. His destroyer, the Geobuxion, was one of the first Black Fleet ships ever built. She was fast, deadly, and completely invisible to conventional sensors. "All crew to battle stations," he announced over the ship's communication system. "This is not a drill. We are now at war with the Galactic Hegemony." His crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for this scenario hundreds of times, but now it was real. Through the fold space viewers, they could see the alien fleet in the distance, massive and threatening. "Sir," his navigation officer said, "we have targeting data from the scout ships. The enemy formation is exactly as predicted." Young-sik looked at the tactical display. The aliens had arranged their ships in a standard attack formation, with the largest vessels in the center and smaller ships protecting the flanks. It was a formation that had worked for them for thousands of years against conventional enemies, but they had never faced an enemy that could attack from inside their own formation. "Plot a course to grid 77 Alpha," Young-sik ordered. "We'll hit their command ship first." Admiral Hyun-jae coordinated the Black Fleet's movements from her flagship, the Ilji Mundeok. She had been planning this attack for 5 years, studying alien tactics and developing strategies that used fold space technology to its fullest advantage. "All units report ready," her communication officer announced. Hyun-jae looked at the holographic display that showed both fleets. The aliens were moving toward Earth in a steady formation, confident in their overwhelming advantage. They had no idea that hundreds of human ships were already surrounding them, waiting in the spaces between dimensions. "Signal all units," she said. "Operation Shadowfall begins in 30 minutes. Remember, hit hard, hit fast, and don't give them time to adapt." The Black Fleet began to move. Ships that had been scattered across the solar system started converging on the alien formation, traveling through fold space where distance meant less and time moved differently. Lieutenant Colonel Jae-min checked his equipment one final time. He commanded a special unit trained for the most dangerous missions the Black Fleet could attempt, boarding enemy ships while they were still fighting. His soldiers wore armor that could exist partially in fold space, allowing them to become intangible at will. Their weapons could fire bullets that materialized inside enemy bodies, bypassing any armor or shields. "Sir," his sergeant said, "the target ship has been identified. It's their communications vessel." Jae-min nodded. Their job was to capture or destroy the alien command network, making it impossible for the enemy fleet to coordinate their response. High Admiral Zethkar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen. The small blue planet looked helpless, defended by only a few space stations and some tiny warships. This would be the easiest conquest in his long military career. "Begin the attack," he commanded. 300 alien dreadnoughts moved forward in perfect formation. Each ship was 2 kilometers long and armed with enough firepower to destroy a city. They had conquered dozens of worlds using the same tactics. "Overwhelming force applied with precision and speed. Target the orbital defense platforms first," Zethkar ordered. "Destroy their weapons, but leave their life support intact. We want prisoners, not corpses." The first wave of plasma beams lanced out toward Earth's defenses. The human space stations tried to fight back, but their weapons barely scratched the alien shields. Commander Yunsu watched her tactical display with growing despair. The defense station Dokdo was taking heavy damage, and her shields were failing fast. Around Earth's orbit, the other defense platforms were in the same situation. "Ma'am," her weapons officer called out, "our main guns are offline. Hull breach, on deck 7. "Keep firing with whatever we have left," Yunsu ordered. "Make them work for every meter." She knew this was exactly what the planners had expected. Earth's conventional defenses were meant to look impressive, but ultimately fail. The real defense was something the aliens couldn't see. Captain Young-sik watched the battle from fold space, waiting for his moment. His destroyer, the Geobuxion, hung invisible in the void just a few hundred meters from an alien dreadnought. The enemy ship's weapons were firing steadily at Earth's defenses, completely unaware of the death floating beside it. "Target locked," his weapons officer reported. "Singularity torpedoes ready." "Fire," Young-sik said quietly. The torpedo materialized, in normal space, just as it hit the alien ship's hull. For 3 seconds, a tiny black hole ate through armor, weapons, and crew. When it collapsed, it left a perfect sphere of nothing where the ship's engine room used to be. The dreadnought died without its crew ever knowing what killed it. "Phase back to fold space," Young-sik ordered. "Move to the next target." The Geobuxion faded back into the space between dimensions, leaving behind only a dead alien ship and a very confused enemy fleet. Admiral Zethkar stared at his tactical display in shock. One of his ships had simply exploded for no reason. There had been no incoming fire, no sign of attack. One moment the ship was there, the next moment it was destroyed. "What happened to the destroyer of suns?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir," his sensor officer replied. "Our instruments show no enemy activity in that area. Check for mines or hidden weapons platforms." Scanning now, sir. I'm not detecting anything. Unusual. Before Zethkar could respond, 2 more ships exploded, then 5 more. All across his formation, dreadnoughts were dying from weapons that his sensors couldn't detect. Commander So Young's stealth cruiser, the Hwarang, phased into normal space inside the alien formation. Her ship was small and fast, designed to mark targets and disappear before the enemy could respond. Painting targets now, her weapons officer announced. Invisible laser beams reached out to touch a dozen alien ships, marking them for the heavier units of the Black Fleet. Sir, her sensor operator called out, the aliens are starting to panic. They're breaking formation. So Young smiled. This was exactly what Admiral Hyun-jae had predicted. When an enemy couldn't understand how they were being attacked, they usually made mistakes trying to defend themselves. Phase us back to fold space, she ordered. Let the big ships finish the job. Captain Minho received the target data from the Hwarang and prepared his weapons. The Chungmugong carried the most powerful weapons in the Black Fleet, and he intended to use them all. Fire all singularity torpedoes, he commanded. 12 black holes materialized throughout the alien formation. For 18 seconds, the weapons devoured everything they touched. When they finally collapsed, 18 alien dreadnoughts had been completely destroyed, leaving nothing behind but empty space. Reload and prepare for the next salvo, Minho ordered, though he knew his ship only carried enough ammunition for 3 full attacks. The aliens were starting to understand that they were fighting something beyond their experience. High Admiral Zethkar ordered his ships to activate all sensors, searching for any sign of the invisible enemy. Sir, his communication officer announced, we're receiving reports from all sectors. Ships are being destroyed by unknown weapons. The fleet commanders are requesting new orders. Zethkar felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries of warfare: fear. His massive fleet was being torn apart by an enemy he couldn't see, couldn't understand, and couldn't fight back against. All ships, activate full defensive screens, he ordered. Move into tight formation. Whatever's attacking us will present a unified defense. It was exactly the wrong thing to do. Lieutenant Colonel Jae-min and his boarding team materialized inside an alien communications ship. One moment they were in fold space, the next moment they were standing in a corridor full of surprised alien soldiers. Remember, phase in and out constantly, Jaemin told his team over their private communication channel. Don't stay solid for more than a few seconds at a time. The aliens opened fire, but their energy beams passed harmlessly through soldiers who flickered between existing and not existing. Jaemin's team returned fire with weapons that materialized bullets inside alien bodies, bypassing armor and shields completely. Secure the bridge, Jaemin ordered. We need their communication codes. His soldiers moved through the ship like ghosts, appearing just long enough to eliminate threats before fading back into fold space. The alien crew had no idea how to fight, an enemy that could become intangible at will. Admiral Hyun-jae watched the battle from her command ship, coordinating attacks across the entire alien formation. The Black Fleet was performing perfectly, appearing and disappearing like nightmares made real. Ma'am, her tactical officer reported, we've destroyed 67 enemy ships. The aliens are trying to retreat. Don't let them, Hyun-jae ordered. Signal all units. Pursue and destroy. We can't let any of them escape to report what they've seen. The Black Fleet began hunting the fleeing aliens through normal space and fold space alike. Ships that tried to run found human vessels appearing directly in front of them. Ships that tried to hide discovered that fold space sensors could detect them anywhere in the solar system. Captain Dae Young finally reached Earth's orbital zone with his patrol ship, the Sejong. He had been racing back from the outer colonies for 3 days, pushing his engines beyond their safety limits. What he found was a slaughter. Alien ships were exploding all around Earth's orbit, destroyed by weapons that seemed to come from empty space. The few enemy vessels still fighting were firing wildly in all directions, trying to hit targets they couldn't see. Sir, his communication officer said, we're receiving a transmission on a military frequency. Put it through. Admiral Hyun-jae's voice filled the bridge. Captain Day Young, this is Shadowfall Command. Glad you made it back. Take your ship to Grid 44 Beta and assist with cleanup operations. Day Young stared at the tactical display, trying to understand what he was seeing. Admiral, who is Shadowfall Command? And what are those explosions? That's classified, Captain. Just follow your orders and help us finish off the stragglers. As Day Young watched, more alien ships died from invisible attacks. Whatever was happening, it was clear that Earth's defenses were far more powerful than anyone had realized. Commander Yun-Su couldn't believe what she was seeing through Dokdo's sensors. The alien fleet that had seemed unstoppable just an hour ago was being systematically destroyed by weapons that didn't appear on any of her screens. "Ma'am," her sensor operator said, "I'm detecting massive gravitational distortions throughout the combat zone. It's like space itself is being twisted. And the alien ships? They're dying, ma'am. Whatever's attacking them, it's incredibly effective." Yun-Su felt a mixture of relief and confusion. Earth was being saved, but by weapons and ships that shouldn't exist. How long had humanity been preparing for this war? And why hadn't anyone told the conventional military about these capabilities? High Admiral Zethkar was making his final desperate gambit. With most of his fleet destroyed or fleeing, he ordered his remaining ships to target Earth directly. "If we can't defeat their invisible ships," he told his staff, "we'll destroy their planet. Fire all planetary bombardment weapons. Massive energy. Beams lance toward Earth's surface, each one capable of burning continents. But before they could reach their target, the beams simply disappeared, absorbed by weapons platforms that materialized out of nowhere." Captain Young-Sik's destroyer phased directly in front of Zethkar's flagship. At point-blank range, the Geobuxion fired every weapon it had into the alien dreadnought's bridge. The enemy flagship broke apart in a massive explosion, taking High Admiral Zethkar and his dreams of conquest with it. Dr. Hai-Jin watched the battle from Earth's command center, tracking alien communications that were growing more panicked by the minute. The enemy fleet was reporting attacks by ghost ships and demon weapons that appeared from nowhere. "Admiral," she called to Kang Ho, "the aliens are trying to send a distress signal to their empire. Should we let them?" High Arbiter Velthar stared at the message that had just arrived from the Earth attack force. Only 12 ships had escaped the solar system, and they brought news that chilled him to his core. "Impossible," he whispered, reading the report again. 300 dreadnoughts destroyed by invisible weapons? Ships that appear from nowhere and vanish without trace? His aide, a young Althari officer, shifted nervously. "Sir, should we send a larger fleet to Earth? Perhaps 1,000 ships would be enough to—" "No," Velthar interrupted. "If what these survivors report is true, sending more ships would just give the humans more targets. We need to understand how they're doing this before we act again." But understanding would have to wait. Across the hegemony's vast empire, human ships were already striking at targets that should have been impossible to reach. Captain Inho's long-range strike group materialized in the Andorian system, 12 light-years from Earth. His flagship, the Wonhyo, led 5 other Black Fleet vessels through fold space toward the hegemony's largest shipyard. "Target confirmed," his navigation officer reported. "The Forge of Worlds is directly ahead." Inho looked at the massive space station through his ship's viewers. The Forge of Worlds was 300 kilometers long, surrounded by partially completed dreadnoughts and supply ships. It had taken the aliens 2 centuries to build it, and it produced half of all hegemony warships. "All ships, begin the attack," Inho commanded. "Remember, we want to destroy the construction facilities, not just the ships." 6 singularity torpedoes materialized inside the space station's central core. The artificial black holes devoured power generators, construction bays, and manufacturing centers. When they collapsed, they left massive holes that reached from one side of the station to the other. "Phase 2, Inho ordered. His ships appeared throughout the system, targeting the smaller shipyards and supply depots that fed the main facility. Within 30 minutes, the hegemony's primary source of new warships had been reduced to scrap metal floating in space. "Sir," his communication officer announced, "we're receiving a transmission from the station. They're trying to surrender." In-ho considered this. The mission parameters didn't call for taking prisoners, but intelligence from captured aliens could be valuable. "Tell them to evacuate all personnel to the escape pods," he replied. "We'll destroy the facility, but we won't kill civilians if we can avoid it." As alien workers fled the dying shipyard, In-ho's task force prepared for their next target. They had a list of 12 critical hegemony facilities, and this was only the first. Commander Ye Jin sat in her special operations ship, the Nongai, deep in fold space near the hegemony capital world. Her mission was different from the other. Black Fleet units. Instead of destroying things with weapons, she was going to destroy them with information. "Connection established," her quantum communication specialist reported. "We're linked into their main data network." Ye-jin smiled as she looked at the alien computer systems displayed on her screen. The hegemony used quantum entanglement for instant communication across their empire, just like humans did, but they had never imagined that the same technology could be used for hacking. "Begin infiltration protocol," she ordered. Her team of cyber warfare specialists went to work, using human-designed quantum viruses to penetrate the alien networks. The hegemony's security was designed to stop conventional attacks, not programs that existed partially in fold space. "We're in," her lead hacker announced. "Access to military communications, fleet positions, supply schedules, everything." "Good," Ye-jin replied. "Upload the confusion package first." False orders began flooding the hegemony communication network. Fleets were told to attack each other, supply ships were sent to empty systems, and defensive positions were abandoned based on fake intelligence reports. "Phase 2, Ye-jin said. "Release the liberation broadcasts." Across the Empire, planets that had been conquered by the hegemony received messages in their own languages. The transmissions revealed secret police operations, showed evidence of corruption among hegemony officials, and provided detailed instructions for resistance operations. "Ma'am," her communication officer said, "we're getting reports from across the Empire. 3 species have declared independence from the hegemony. Rebellion movements are starting on a dozen more worlds." Ye-jin nodded with satisfaction. Sometimes the best weapon wasn't a gun or a bomb, but the truth. General Wu Jin coordinated the multi-system campaign from his command bunker on Earth. Holographic displays showed him the status of Black Fleet. Operations across 50 star systems, each one a carefully planned strike against hegemony infrastructure. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "the alien military command is in complete chaos. They're getting contradictory reports from everywhere, and they don't know which ones to believe." "What about their response?" Wu Jin asked. "They're trying to send reinforcement fleets to defend key systems, but our false orders are sending them to the wrong places. By the time they figure out what's real and what's fake, our ships will have hit their targets and vanished." Wu Jin studied the tactical displays with satisfaction. This was exactly the kind of war humanity could win. Instead of matching the hegemony ship for ship, they were using superior technology and tactics to strike where the enemy was weakest. "What's the status of Operation Truth Teller?" he asked. "Commander Ye-jin reports complete success. The liberation broadcasts are being received on over 200 worlds. 3 species have already declared independence, and more are expected to follow." Wu Jin smiled. The hegemony had held their empire together through fear and superior firepower. But if their subject species realized that the aliens could be defeated, that empire would start falling apart from within. Dr. Ye-jin worked around the clock in her laboratory, analyzing captured alien technology and communications. Every hour brought new intelligence about hegemony operations, and every piece of data revealed new targets for the Black Fleet. "Admiral," she called to Kang Ho, "I've found something interesting in the captured files." She brought up a star chart showing the core systems of the Hegemony Empire. According to these documents, there are at least 6 species in the Empire that were conquered against their will. 3 of them have already rebelled thanks to Commander Ye Jin's broadcasts. What about the other 3? Kang Ho asked. The Baal, Karathi, the Vellani, and the Zephyrians. All 3 have populations in the billions and significant military forces. If we could convince them to rebel, it would cripple the hegemony's ability to fight. Hai Jin pulled up detailed files on each species. The Karathi are natural engineers and shipbuilders. The Vellani are expert pilots and navigators. The Zephyrians are warriors who were forced into the Empire only 50 years ago. Can we contact them? I think so. Their languages are in the captured database. If we can get messages to their resistance movements, we might be able to coordinate our attacks with their rebellions. Kang Ho nodded. Do it. The more pressure we can put on the Empire from within, the better our chances of winning this war. Captain Dae Young led a convoy of human ships toward the liberated Karathi homeworld. His patrol vessel, the Sejong, was escorting 3 transport ships full of supplies and weapons for the rebels. Sir, his communication officer announced, we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. The main screen showed an alien face that looked somewhat like a human, but with silver skin and large eyes. When it spoke, the translation computer rendered its words in Korean. Human ships, this is Governor Thal Ray of the Free Karathi Republic. We thank you for the weapons and supplies, but we must ask, why are you helping us? Dae Young had been authorized to speak for Earth in these negotiations. Governor, humanity believes that all intelligent species have the right to freedom and self-determination. The hegemony tried to conquer us, and we fought back. Now we're offering the same chance to others. And what do you want in return? Friendship? Dae Young replied simply. Trade partnerships, an alliance against common enemies. But if you want to be left alone after this war is over, that's your choice too. The Karathi governor looked surprised. You would help us without demanding tribute or submission? That's right. Humanity has learned that free allies are stronger than conquered subjects. Within hours, Karathi shipyards were producing weapons designed from human plans, modified for their own technology. The rebels had been fighting with captured equipment for months. Now they would have purpose-built warships designed to fight the hegemony. Commander Yoon Soo received new orders from Earth Command that confused and excited her at the same time. Her defense station, Dokdo, was being upgraded with Black Fleet. Technology! Ma'am, her engineering officer said. The new equipment is unlike anything I've ever seen. The power readings don't make sense according to conventional physics. Yoon Soo looked at the installation reports with wonder. Her station was being fitted with fold space sensors, dimensional phase generators, and weapons that could fire through the spaces between dimensions. How many other stations are getting these upgrades? She asked. All of them, ma'am. Earth's orbital defenses are being completely rebuilt with the new technology. For the first time, Yoon Soo realized just how long humanity had been preparing for this war. The Black Fleet wasn't just a few experimental ships. Admiral Sung Min's flagship, the Sejong the Great, materialized in orbit above the Althari homeworld. The massive Black Fleet vessel hung in space like a dark omen, its dimensional drives causing reality to shimmer around its hull. Below them, the capital of the Galactic Hegemony lay exposed and defenseless. For 3,000 years, this world had been the center of galactic power. Its orbital fortresses had been thought impregnable, its defense fleets undefeatable. Now those fortresses were empty shells, their crews evacuated when the Black Fleet had appeared without warning. The defense fleets had been destroyed or scattered across a dozen systems, victims of weapons they couldn't see or understand. Sir, his communication officer announced, we're receiving a transmission from the planetary government. Put it through, Sung Min ordered. High Arbiter Velthar appeared on the main screen, his 4 eyes showing defeat and exhaustion. When he spoke, His voice carried none of the arrogance that had marked his ultimatum to Earth weeks earlier. "Admiral Sungmin of the Human Forces," he said formally, "the Hegemony High Council requests terms for surrender." Sungmin had been waiting for this moment, but he felt no satisfaction in the alien leader's defeat. War was a tool, not an end in itself. Now it was time to build something better from the ruins of the old empire. "High Arbiter," he replied, "you will receive our terms shortly. But first, I want you to understand something. This war didn't have to happen. You could have chosen diplomacy over conquest, cooperation over domination. You chose poorly." President Nari's image appeared beside Sungmin on the transmission. She was broadcasting from Earth, but fold space communication made distance irrelevant. "The terms are simple," she said, her voice carrying the authority of a species that had just conquered the galaxy's greatest empire. "Complete withdrawal of hegemony forces from all systems claimed by humanity. Immediate independence for any species that chooses to leave your empire. Reparations for the destruction you caused at Earth." Velthar's expression showed resignation. "And if we agree to these terms?" "Then the shooting stops," Nari replied. "Humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be left alone to explore it in peace." "What about the species that choose to remain in the empire? That's their choice to make freely, without coercion or threat. The age of forced membership in galactic powers is over." Captain Day Young stood on the bridge of his ship, watching as the formal surrender ceremony took place aboard the human flagship. Through the viewports, he could see hundreds of other vessels from the Black Fleet, their dark hulls making space itself. "Seemed to bend around them. Hard to believe it's over," his executive officer commented. "The shooting is over," Day Young corrected, "but the real work is just beginning. Now we have to prove that humans can be trusted with the power we've demonstrated." On the main screen, High Arbiter Velthar was signing the surrender documents. His hand shook slightly as he applied his seal to the treaty that would reshape the galaxy. "Admiral," Velthar said to Sung Min, "I must ask, how did your species develop such advanced technology in secret? Our intelligence networks are extensive." Sung Min smiled slightly. "You made the mistake of thinking we were like you. You announced your intentions, built your fleets in the open, and relied on overwhelming force. We learned to hunt in the dark. But the physics involved. Ships that exist partially outside normal space, weapons that create artificial black holes, communication that ignores distance. These things should be impossible." "Impossible is just another word for something you haven't figured out yet," Sungmin replied. "Humans have always been good at finding new ways to solve old problems." Commander So Young received orders to establish the first human embassy on a liberated world. Her stealth cruiser, the Hwarang, dropped out of fold space above New Karathi, the capital of the newly independent Karathi Republic. Governor Thal Ray greeted her personally when she transported down to the planet's surface. The silver-skinned alien looked tired but hopeful as he showed her through the Capitol building. "Your people have given us something we thought was lost forever," he told her as they walked. "The chance to govern ourselves, to make our own decisions about our future." "What will you do with that freedom?" So Young asked. "Rebuild," Thalray replied simply. "Learn, explore, things we couldn't do under hegemony rule." He paused. "We would also like to establish trade relations with Earth, if you're interested. I think that can be arranged. Humanity believes that free peoples trading freely makes everyone stronger. And if the hegemony tries to reconquer us?" So Young gestured toward her ship, barely visible in orbit above them. "They won't. Earth has made it clear that any species choosing independence will be protected. The Black Fleet doesn't sleep." Dr. Tae Hwan stood in his laboratory, watching as teams of human and alien scientists worked together to understand fold space technology. The breakthrough that had begun as a way to travel faster than light was now opening up entirely new fields of science. "Doctor," his assistant called out, "the Volani delegation has arrived. They want to discuss joint research projects." Taiwan looked up from his work. The Volani were natural navigators with an intuitive understanding of three-dimensional space that surpassed even human abilities. Combined with human fold space technology, they might discover things that neither species could achieve alone. "Send them in," he said. "It's time to see what we can learn from each other." As the alien scientists entered his lab, Taehuan reflected on how much had changed. A month ago, these beings had been enemies. Now they were partners in unlocking the secrets of the universe. Captain Young-sik commanded one of the patrol ships that now guarded the new borders of human space. His destroyer, the Geobuxion, moved silently through fold space, watching for any sign of hegemony forces that might be planning revenge attacks. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "I'm detecting a small alien fleet approaching the Kepler colony. System. Configuration matches hegemony raiders." Young-sik smiled grimly. Some factions within the fallen empire hadn't accepted the surrender, and they were trying to salvage their pride with hit-and-run attacks on human colonies. "Take us to intercept," he ordered. "Signal the raiders that they have one chance to withdraw peacefully." The alien ships ignored the warning and continued toward the colony world. Young-sik sighed. "All weapons. Fire at will." The raider fleet died in seconds, destroyed by singularity torpedoes that materialized among their ships without warning. It was a brief reminder to anyone watching that humanity's victory hadn't been a fluke. Commander Ye Jin's cyber warfare ship, the Nongay, continued to monitor communications across the former hegemony territory. Her job now was to watch for signs of instability that might threaten the new galactic order. "Ma'am," her communications specialist reported, "we're intercepting transmissions from the Zephyrian home system. It sounds like they're planning to establish a democratic government." Ye Jin nodded with satisfaction. The Zephyrians had been warriors forced into the hegemony only 50 years earlier. Now they were choosing their own path forward. "Any requests for assistance?" she asked. "They want advisors to help them set up fair elections. They've never had democracy before." "Send word to Earth," Ye Jin replied. "I think we can help with that." Admiral Hyunjae stood on the observation deck of the new Terran Federation headquarters, watching as ships from dozens of species moved through Earth's orbital space. Human vessels worked alongside Karathi freighters, Volani exploration ships, and Zephyrian patrol craft. "It's beautiful," her aide commented, looking at the peaceful traffic. "It's what we fought for," Hyunjae replied. "Not conquest, but cooperation. Not empire, but partnership." Through the vast windows, she could see construction crews building new space stations designed with input from multiple species. The architecture blended human engineering with alien aesthetics, creating something entirely new. President Nari addressed the first Galactic Assembly, a gathering of representatives from every free species in known space. The Great Hall on Earth Station 1 was filled with beings of every description, united by their shared commitment to freedom and self-determination. "6 months ago," she began, "the galactic hegemony told us that might makes right, that the strong should rule the weak. Today, we prove them wrong." She gestured toward the assembled delegates. "Here we see strength through diversity, power through cooperation, wisdom through many voices speaking as one. This is the future we chose when we refused to surrender." The hall erupted in applause from dozens of different species, each celebrating in their own way. "The Terran Federation offers partnership to any species that wants it," Nari continued. "We offer protection to those who need it. Most importantly, we offer the promise that no species will ever again be forced to bow to the will of others simply because they are outnumbered or outgunned." In the far reaches of space, Commander So Young's exploration vessel, the Naro, pushed into regions that had never been mapped. Her ship was part of a joint human-alien exploration fleet, seeking new worlds and new civilizations beyond the old. Hegemony borders. Contact ahead, her sensor officer announced. Unknown vessel, design unlike anything in our databases. So Young felt a familiar excitement.